So the World Economic Forum kicks off in Davos today in Switzerland amid fears of a global recession. Business leaders from across the world will meet to discuss the war in Ukraine, economic instability, inflation, climate change, amongst others. Meanwhile, Oxfam are pushing for a windfall tax on food companies to fight inequality as inflation grows. Liam Halligan is with me now. Hello, Liam.
Hello.
Do you think we should be worried about Davos and what they're all doing? A lot of kind of suspicion and rumours and speculation spins around the World Economic Forum and the extent to which they influence government policy. Do you think that's founded?
Well, I don't get to Davos much these days. I've been there various occasions in the past. And I think what gets people's heckles up, if you like, is that it's a powwow of the great and the good of business and politics on an international scale. And yet there's very little transparency. These are often closed-door sessions. And the guest list is very, very exclusive. We've got.
How did you get in?
Because I'm an international public intellectual, Bev. You've got city behemoths like you've got Wall Street giants, you've got Goldman Sachs, you've got JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, you've got the big oil majors, Chevron, BP. They'll all be there. A lot of political leaders. There's about 2,500 to 3,000 actual delegates, but then there are NGOs, like you say, Oxfam and many others sort of protesting on the fringe, all in this kind of very exclusive Swiss mountain village. Not so much snow there these days because there's not much snow in the Alps at the moment, as keen skiers will know. Interestingly, Joe Biden isn't turning up, even though Trump often went to Davos, and Rishi Sunak also isn't turning up. Our leaders know that in this cost of living squeeze, when you're turning up in sort of chocolate box Switzerland and hobnobbing, doing your sort of own job prospects no harm, then it isn't a good look. Another interesting one, it is cooperation in a fragmented world. That is the theme, not least because of Russia-Ukraine. There'll be lots to talk about energy bills and climate change and so on. But interestingly, representatives of Man United are at Davos because they're looking for a buyer.
No.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the problem is, like you say, it's about this lack of transparency, and we feel like there's a lack of democracy. If there are people in those rooms making huge decisions which will affect our lives, we want to know about it, and we want to know whether we have actually got an emasculated government. Maybe that's the word. All the muscle is over there.
What I would say is there's a definite type. There's sort of Davos man, and now women these days, of course.
I'm guessing mainly men.
But it is mainly men. These are people who have an almost monochrome view of the world. They're all into, international institutions holding power as opposed to the nation state. You don't get many Brexiteers turning up at Davos, and I should know. You get people who are very, very mobile, live in many, many different countries. They may, a lot of people feel, be very distant from how ordinary people think and feel and their animus, and yet they are very, very influential. So you get a kind of self-reinforcing upward spiral of a sort of globalist outlook rather than a more down-to-earth outlook. And of course, Davos is the kind of place where billionaires go to be watched by millionaires, and you've got the millionaires there who are trying to ingratiate themselves, get jobs with the billionaires, journalists among them. Take it from me, it's happening right now as we're talking. So I completely understand, even though I've been on the guest list in the past, I'm not going to be on the guest list anymore, I'm sure, after what I've said, but I do understand why an awful lot of people feel it's remote and ever so slightly shady.
There's one journalist who has been tweeting about his experiences there, and he posted that everybody has to do a lateral flow or PCR test, I think, before you go into COVID. If you don't,
so that's the stricter one, isn't it?
This is stricter, and if you don't do the test, your accreditation is instantly deactivated, and you're not allowed in. And this idea that there is top-down control of the individual is what I think a lot of people have been very frightened of in the last couple of years. And we talk about the World Economic Forum's ambition for the planet. I would love Rishi Sunak to come out and tell us journalists never ask him a question. How influenced are you by what the World Economic Forum want you to do and what Britain should look like? Anyway, we could talk about this all day, Liam, but let's talk about things a little bit closer to home. House prices, is this good news or bad news?
Well, it depends on your point of view. If you're a homeowner, you want house prices to go up. If you're somebody trying desperately to get on the property ladder, you're worried your kids can't get on the property ladder, then you'll probably be quite happy if there's a pretty significant house price fall. The general mood is that there's going to be a house price fall to some degree this year. That's what all the sort of, start of year predictions said. I don't think it will be a particularly big fall, but interest rates are going up. Again, I don't think they've got that much further to go up. I personally think that the recession, as and when it comes, will be a lot shallower than many other people are saying. I think inflation will abate quicker now. I was very early to say inflation's coming, pilloried for it, but now I'm saying I think inflation is going to ebb away quite soon and the cost of living squeeze will ease. But Rightmove, even though house prices have fallen a bit in recent months, Rightmove, which is a property agency, said that on their survey, prices went up in January. That really surprised people compared to January 2022. The average house price across the UK, there aren't any regional breakdown of these figures. If there were, I'd be bringing them to you absolutely at the front of my comments. But for now, the average house price across the country is £362,438, an enormous, eye-watering amount of money, and that's up £3,301 on the same month in 2022. And yet, because house prices kind of surged as we came out of lockdown, even though house prices are up in January, they're still up compared to January 2022. They're still down on October 2022 by about £8,000. So this is a slight upward break in what is a downward trend over recent months.
But that's just because of the lack of supply of houses in January, with people being nervous about the economy and thinking, I'm just going to sit tight.
That's right. That's exactly right. And also the fundamental lack of supply of housing in general, something I've written about a huge amount over the years. We do have too few homes in the UK, and we have population growth, we have natural population growth, we have immigration, of course. And where there are too few homes and more people want them, then they are going to... But what will happen, as interest rates rise, though, mortgage demand should fall a little bit, which keeps the lid on these house prices.
Now, you and I last week, Liam, we had a little chat about Marks and Spencer's, and I was telling you that I didn't think their clothes were very good, although you might think that's a bit rich coming from you wearing that today. Do you like this? It's a bit like Margot off The Good Life.
The Good Life.
Yeah.
Hey, Jenny.
It is, well done.
Jenny.
Well, I'll chat about Marks and Spencer's.
Don't you see yourself more as a sort of Felicity Kendall, Barbara?
Probably am. I'm somewhere between the two.
Tom and Barbara Good. I'm feeling more like Tom Good in my sort of tweedy jacket.
Yeah, you look good. But we were talking about this last week because they'd had decent sales. They'd had a decent amount of revenue come in, but not necessarily sold more stuff.
Yeah.
Great news for Marks and Spencer today on Blue Monday. What's the great news, Liam?
Well, the great news is that Marks and Spencer have announced that they're going to open 20 new stores by the end of next year, and that is pretty good news.
That's amazing.
They're saying by the end of 2025 they're going to have 180 full line stores, so clothes and everything across the UK, and 420 food stores. And some of these new full line stores are going to be, wait for it, in Leeds, Liverpool, Birmingham and Manchester. So, of course, that's good news. Marks and Sparks, who, of course, are a high street institution, they've been around 139 years now. They say that these new store openings are going to add 3,400 new jobs. Often these retail jobs, they're useful little some full-time jobs, but they're part-time jobs. A lot of working mums like these kind of part-time jobs. They add to the flexibility of the labour market. Though this is Blue Monday, Bev, and I am an economist and we're dismal scientists, aren't we? So what I have to say, just a bit of a reality check, M&S are canny people. They know on Blue Monday, a little bit of good news, a high street brand, we're all going to pick it up, right?
You're so cynical,
No, I'm not. I'm just a very
Halligan.
experienced journalist, and I know these things. That's not cynical. That's just understanding public relations. And what I would say is, in their press release, it doesn't mention that in October they said that 67 stores are actually closing.
Is this something to do, though? I was sort of thinking, you're absolutely right. I hate the fact that you've seen that before me. You're so clever, Liam. This is a bit of a PR stunt, isn't it? A bit of good news on a bad day. But is it also possibly because they say they're going to rejuvenate their high street presence? Is this because we're going to have lots of empty properties? Are they swooping in, do you think?
I think when you have been around for 139 years, and let's say, let's be clear, M&S are an absolute retail thoroughbred.
Yeah.
The way the world retails, the likes of M&S, Tesco, they invented mass market retailing along with the Americans. They've got every right to be proud of their incredible reputation. And indeed, they are a byword for reasonably good value quality, aren't they? Sort of mid value quality. They're one of Britain's great aspirational brands. And M&S have also got deep pockets. So I actually think, as well as, you know, a bit of media management, you know, throwing the broadcast media a sugar-coated bone on Blue Monday, knowing that we're all going to go for it. I also think that M&S, very, very shrewd people, a bit like me, see a sign of an upturn here. They see green shoots. They see the fact that maybe this cost of living squeeze will sooner rather than later come to an end. There are still going to be some difficult months, but I don't accept the Bank of England's view, actually, that we're going to be in recession pretty much the whole of this year. I don't accept that at all. Good. I think that's completely a wayward, rogue estimate, but lots of people pick up on it because, of course, it's the Bank of England.
You're not just saying that to be positive on Blue Monday, are you, Lee?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I wouldn't. To me, my reputation is too important. I genuinely believe there'll be an upturn sooner than the vast majority of economists think. And I think M&S are shrewdly positioning themselves as being among the first to put their money where their mouth is. You know, yes, they said they're closing 67 stores in October, but they're now saying they're opening 20 new stores and big stores.
Yeah.
You know, chapeau.